Please listen carefully. Current density is velocity times charge concentration. Now velocity you can get from momentum operator divided by m, right? So what is the operator for this one? H bar by m del by del x, right? So del by del x will actually give k. So it will k will come here, right? So this is basically velocity. Now h bar and m, these are constants. So only thing that you have here is k. Other things are same for both reflected, incidence, and transitant wave, right? And psi square is the this is a psi wave function. So psi square will be r square here, t square here, and 1 here, right? So it is psi square is okay. It has to be multiplied by k because k is the telling about the velocity. So the velocity with which it is moving, right? So this has to be multiplied by velocity to get the current. And that current will tell you the transmission and reflection coefficient. Okay. So psi square is multiplied by k. So incident wave is psi e to the power iota kx magnitude square, which is 1 times k. So this is the incident current. Reflected current e to the power minus iota kx times r square times k, and transmitted current t e to the power iota k prime x square times k prime. So these are the current densities, right? So reflection will be r square, transmission will be r square, sorry, t square times k prime by k. Is that okay? So this reflection and transmission are in terms of current, and current is obtained by multiplying by k, because h bar k by m is the velocity. Okay, very good. Now, if energy of electron is less than the potential, then your k prime will be imaginary, and we can write k prime is iota eta, let's say, and then eta will be u naught minus e here, root 2m u naught minus e by h bar square, and expressions are they are exactly same. You just replace k prime by iota eta, right? So this is 2k by k plus k prime is k plus k minus k prime by k plus k prime. Just bracket here. Okay, and the transmission transmission is what? 4k k prime. Now k prime is iota eta. So 4k times iota eta divided by k plus iota eta whole square, right? So that means this number will be imaginary. So the transmission will be imaginary number. What do we know imaginary transmission? By imaginary transmission, we mean we will have a decaying wave. We will not have a traveling wave, right? So that means your transmission is 0 because you don't have imaginary current, right? Imaginary part of current means it just decaying basically. For reflection, k minus iota eta square by k plus iota eta square. Now these will have same magnitude. So this will be 1 only. So that means everything is reflected. So if you see here, this is the transmission coefficient versus energy. So if energy is less than u naught, right, transmission is 0. Whether it is classical or quantum, transmission is 0. Please remember, understand, it is a transmission. So there is no traveling wave. Although there is a decaying wave inside, but there is no traveling wave. So if you have a potential here and energy less than u naught, you may have a wave going like this, but it is not traveling, right? It is decaying here. So we say there is no transmission. You understand? Wave entering here doesn't mean it is transmitted. It is decaying here, right? So for energy less than the potential barrier, electron energy is the electron energy. So energy less than the potential barrier, there is no transmission, whether it is classical or quantum mechanics. Clear? Okay. If energy is less than U, classically it will transmit with whatever is the difference, right? With that kinetic energy. So kinetic energy Ke is equal to E minus U naught, right? So with this energy, electron will go through, right? Classically. But in quantum mechanically, what you see, there is a probability that it may go through, it may not go through, right? So there is a finite probability that electron may be reflected. So for this reason, you have to show the previous one, because this is case 2 is, this is case 2, right? E is less than U naught, and this is case 1. So case 1, reflection K minus K prime square K plus K prime square. Transmission is 4K times K prime by K plus K prime square, right? So there is a finite probability of reflection and transmission, right? So in quantum mechanics, it allows electron to be reflected from a finite potential barrier, even though energy of electron is more than the potential barrier. Correct? What you can do, you can maybe plot it also. So okay. So here in second part of this MATLAB code, I will share the slides with you. It is transmission is 2 times K by K plus eta, right? So this is T, right? And then transmission coefficient will be K prime by K, right? So that is eta by K, right? So that you see here, this black thing, right? Black thing is the step potential, and this is the probability of transmission. So as soon as energy crosses the, so this x-axis is the energy, right? And this is a transmission. So as soon as energy crosses the U naught, right? There is a sudden jump, right? You see, there is a sudden jump, and you get almost full transmission. But it is possible that some of the electrons or waves can be reflected. So you can plot this equation using MATLAB. Actually, we are going to discuss the tunneling, right? So for tunneling, we need to understand this concept. Okay. So particle at a step. Now next is coming particle at a barrier. So that means that step is truncated somewhere. So that step is from 0 to L, right? So if this decay survives, right, then you will have a transmitted wave. If decay does not survive this length, then you will not have transmitted wave. That's the idea. Correct? So again, you can do the same thing. Let's say this is region 1, this is region 2, this is region 3. Now region 1 and region 3, U is 0, so your K will be same for region 1 and region 3, and that will be root 2 me by h bar square. For region 2, it will be root 2m e minus u naught by h bar square. Correct? And now you have to apply two boundary conditions at x equal to 0 and two boundary conditions at x equal to L. Okay, do you have any question? Harsh Sukeja, please ask.
Sir, in potential step, we said that reflectance should be 1. So this means that electron is crossing that potential step and then coming back through it.
Now, can you say again?
Sir, In step potential, reflection should be 1, right? Reflection coefficient.
When the energy is less than the potential barrier, it is always reflected.
So sir, we said that it can also cross that step. So it means that it is crossing and then coming back.
No, it is not crossing. What is happening basically? This potential is very, we are assuming infinite, right? So there is no, it's not a barrier, it's a potential step. So x less than 0, whole potential 0, x more than 0, up to infinity, potential is u naught only. So electron cannot propagate because energy is less than the u naught, E is less than u naught, the potential energy. So it cannot propagate. So what at most can happen, this electron can penetrate a little bit, and that penetration means there is a possibility of finding electron slightly inside that barrier. You understand? By wave function, we can understand there is a possibility that electron can slightly penetrate inside the barrier, but it will not propagate, right? So probability is there, but it will not travel inside. So if it does not travel, then means current is 0.
Okay.
So there is no transmission to say.
But it can penetrate and then come back.
It can penetrate, so it is not coming back. Yeah, it can penetrate and come back. You can say that.
Thank you, sir.
It's like you are having a ball in your hand, right? And when you are hitting the ball on the wall, it's hitting the wall and coming back, right? Now, if your ball is little plumpy, is not very solid, then what will happen? This ball will hit the wall WALL, and if ball is little plumpy, it will slightly go inside and come back. So similar thing is happening here. Okay. Any other question?
Sir, so what is the difference between traveling and propagating?
No, they are same thing. They are same thing.
Sir, but you said the electron would not be traveling, but it can propagate.
No. See, when its kinetic energy is not positive, right? Because E is less than U naught. So kinetic energy is negative. That is not possible. So it cannot propagate inside. But because it's a wave function, right? We have inherent property that position and momentum cannot be determined very accurately, right? Or more than certain limit, half or h bar by 2. So that means there's a finite probability of electron entering inside the barrier, but it is not propagating. It's like I give you the analogy of a ball, right? You have many balls, right? And hitting each other. So they are, if the balls are plumpy, WALL, balls are plumpy, they can slightly push the wall inside, right? But they're not traveling inside.
Okay, sir.
So that is basically probability of finding. Let's say there are millions, thousands of balls there in the room, right? So some ball may be sticking in the wall, right? But what is happening? They are moving inside the room only. They are not crossing the walls. So this is basically the view of electron.
Okay, sir.
Anything else? Okay, then let's continue to the potential, this barrier here. So in 3 regions, region 1 and region 2, K is root 2 me by h bar square. Region 2, K is root 2 m e minus u naught by h bar square. And you can apply 2 boundary condition at x equal to 0, 2 boundary condition at x equal to L. And again, you can, for first region, you can have only incident wave, assume magnitude to be 1, your reflected wave r times e to the power minus iota kx, because it's moving in minus x direction. Now in this barrier, now we will use both a times e to the power iota k prime x, which is moving in x direction, and b times e to the power minus iota k prime x, which is moving in minus x direction. Why? Because there is another step here, right? So here these electron can be reflected, right? So now in this region we have to consider both the traveling waves, traveling in x direction and traveling in minus x direction. And in the third region is extending to infinity, so you can only consider wave traveling in positive x direction, and we can call it t times e to the power iota kx. Correct? So how many variables you have? R, A, B, and T. And how many equations you have? Two equation at x equal to 0, two equation at x equal to L. So four equation, four variable, you can solve it, right? But it's very lengthy. I sat in night to do it. It takes a lot of time, right? But I will just I will go through it, tell you the important step, and you can do it. So if you apply the boundary condition at x equal to 0, what do you get here? X equal to 0 means 1 plus R is the region 1 is equal to A plus B, and derivative, so this will be K times 1 minus R is equal to K prime times A minus B, correct? And at x equal to L, you have you can write A times e to the power iota K prime L plus B times e to the power minus iota K prime L is equal to T times e to the power iota KL, and derivative, again you have K prime here multiplied by K prime, so K prime times A times e to the power iota K prime X minus B times e to the power minus iota K prime X equal to K times T times e to the power iota KL, right? So this I will explain later. So first let's look at the equations. So this is a boundary condition at x equal to 0. This is a boundary condition at x equal to L, right? So this is by equating wave function. This is by equating the derivative wave function. So it get multiplied by k here and k prime here, and because it's minus iota KL, so it's minus sign here. So from first two equations, what you do, you take this here and divide left side, right side by k. You have 1 plus R and 1 minus R. You add them, add these two equations, right? What you get 2 is equal to A here and A here. So 1 plus K prime by K times A and 1 minus K prime by K times B. Then in second equation, these two set of equation, you have T times e to the power iota KL, and K times T times e to the iota KL. You divide this thing by K, right? So you have K here, right? And then you subtract. So this becomes 0. And this side, for convenience, we are basically flipping the side. So 0 is equal to A times 1 minus K prime by K, right? 1 minus K prime by K. And for B, 1 plus K prime by K, right? So now you have two equations in A and B. You can obtain A. I did it, so maybe what is the step I followed? See, if you want to obtain A, we have to eliminate B, right? And how are we going to eliminate B? You can multiply the second equation by e to the power iota K prime L, right? And 1 minus K prime by K divided by 1 plus K prime by K, right? So these two coefficients become same, right? So you will have, because you are multiplying this term, so 0 will be 0 only. So 2 will be equal to A times 1 plus K prime by K prime by K minus 1 minus K prime by K square y1 plus k prime by k e to the power 2 iota kl, right? And then if you take this to left side, so this becomes 2 divided by, now maybe I can write it here. You can try it basically, yeah. Or should I write it? Please take 2-minute time to do it. You have to multiply the second equation by e to the power iota kl times 1 minus k prime by k divided by 1 plus k prime by k. Then you should get this equation a equal to 2 times e to the power minus iota k prime l times 1 plus k prime by k divided by 1 plus k prime by k square e to the power minus iota kl minus 1 minus k prime by k square e to the power iota k prime l. Similarly, you can get the expression for b by eliminating a, right? So what will you do here? In this case, you will multiply the second equation by 1 plus k prime by k divided by 1 minus k prime by k times e to the power minus iota k prime l, right? So that we will get b. Now, once you know the expression for a and b, you can use the third equation here to get the expression for t. So t times e to the power iota kl is a times e to the power iota k prime l plus b times e to the power minus iota k prime l. And when you substitute it, you get something expression like this. I verified it. It's okay. So what you have here, 2kk prime y. Now e to the power iota kl. If you see here, there's 1 times e to the power minus iota kl minus e to the power iota kl. So that will be sine k prime l, right? So that is sine k prime l, and k this is k plus k prime square, right? Because we are multiplying numerator and denominator by k square, so it becomes 2kk prime. And because it's 2 sine iota kl, you can cancel 1, so it is only 2 here in numerator instead of 4. And then this is k square plus k prime square. This is 2kk prime, and this is minus 2k prime. So this is plus here. So addition of these two will give cosine k prime l. So 2kk prime cosine k prime l. So for e more than u naught, your transmission will be, now in this case it will be t square only. Why? Because k in region 3 and k in region 1, they are same, right? So if you write k by k, it will be 1. So it will only be t square. So you can just square this one, right? So this will be 4k square k prime square divided by a plus iota b. So a square plus b square, right? A square, this is square, sin square plus 4kk prime square cos square, right? Now, if you look here, there are two terms here, sin kl and cos kl. Now, maximum transmission, of course, it can be 1, and it will be 1 when numerator and denominator are same. That means cos kl is 1, or you can say plus minus 1. And when cos theta is 1, sin theta will be 0. So that means solution is n pi. So this is basically kind of resonance. So when again you can compare this thing with the potential barrier. That there is a finite probability, even though energy is more than u naught, there is a finite probability that electron can be reflected. They may not be transmitted, right? But at certain values of the k prime l basically, so there will be full transmission, right? And of course, energy is much larger than U naught. So if energy is, let's say, much larger than U naught, then T will be 1 only. T will be 1. It is only for the energies which are more than U naught, but not very large. And for energy less than U naught, you don't have to do much here. You can just replace K by iota eta or iota kappa here, and the equation remains same, because K prime is iota times, so it becomes sine hyperbolic. So instead of this sine hyperbolic and cos hyperbolic, you write here. The rest is same, right? And then KL is basically, now L is the length of the barrier, and KL becomes kind of phase, right? Or how many wavelengths, right? And for thick barrier, you can write sine hyperbolic and cos hyperbolic. They are e to the power KL divided by 2. Whole thing divided by 2. It's not power divided by 2, right? Because sine hyperbolic is e to the power KL minus e to the power minus KL, because KL is large, so e to the power minus KL will be very small. You can recall here, sine hyperbolic theta is e to the power theta minus e to the power minus theta divided by 2. And similarly, cosine theta is e to the power theta plus e to the power minus theta divided by 2. So if KL is theta here, is very large, then you can neglect this thing, right? So both becomes e to the power KL by 2. And K is root 2 me by h bar square, and this kappa is root 2 m e minus u, right? Or u minus e if e is less than u. So what you have here, 4 times K square become e, kappa square become u minus e, and K square minus kappa square becomes u, right? And then this is 4, so 4 4 is 16. So you see here, these are some energy terms, and dominant term is e to the power minus 2kL. So it's basically exponentially depends. Now let us look at this plot here. So again, for classical, if energy is less than U naught, no transmission. If energy is more than U naught, perfect transmission, right? In case of quantum, if energy is less than U naught, right, there is a finite probability that these waves can propagate, right? Now here this variable is finite, so that means if somewhere some wave is penetrating here and somehow is able to cross this length L, then it will propagate. So that's why you see a finite probability here for transmission. And then for energy more than the potential barrier, there's a finite probability that these electrons can be reflected, right? But these are the resonance point, k equal to n pi. So this will KL will be pi. This KL will be 2 pi. This KL will be 3 pi. Right? Okay. So this is again the code. So this code is basically deals with the barrier, and this. So this is a step, and this is barrier. So the black one is a step and the red one is the barrier. So here are some calculation I did. In this calculation, what I assumed, of course, mass is 9.1 10 to the minus 31. This is the h bar. Q is the charge on electron. Length I assume to be 1 nanometer. And the potential I assume to be 1. You notice, let's say 1. Then E I assumed varied from 0 to 5. So n is the number of steps basically. So there are 511 points. So E is varying from 0 to 5. Now K I calculated root 2 me by h bar square, right? And eta or K prime root 2m E minus u naught by h bar square. Please remember, you have to multiply this thing by q, because E is the potential, right? So potential energy will be q times E. So I'm writing it as, so this is basically this much electron volt. So this E energy of electron is in electron volt. So potential is in electron volt. Okay. So please listen carefully. This energy is in electron volt. So U naught is the potential, is not the potential energy. Potential energy will be E times U naught, right? And similarly, the energy of electron will be Q times E, because here I am defining it in terms of electron volt. So E is 0 to 5 electron volt. So I have to multiply this thing by Q. If you have heard it, please write OK in the message box. Okay, good. So now we have obtained K and K prime. K prime is eta. Now T is, we have to take that expression 4k square K prime square by K square plus K prime square whole square sine eta KL square plus 4k square K prime square cosine square K prime L. And then you plot basically transmission versus energy. So this E is the x-axis, T is the y-axis, and R is basically for red color. And line width is basically to select how thick you want to make this line. So you can copy this code and run it to observe the different things. And this is basically title. So L is written here, 1 nanometer as title. Font size is 15. Grid, you can take grid on off. And if you want to plot another graph on the same graph, you can use this command hold on. And then again you write for step potential and plot it on the same plot, right? So now you see here, and when I found this point, the K prime L at this point was 3.14. At the second peak, it was 6.28. At third peak, it was 3 pi. So you see 3.14 is pi. So pi, 2 pi, right? And corresponding energy is 1.37. For the second one, energy is 2.49. I also found this point, which is the lowest one, minimum. And here K prime L was 4.4. So it is slightly less than 1.5 pi. So pi plus pi by 2. It's slightly less than that. So that means minima does not occur at exactly pi by 2. So minima does not occur at where cosine is 0, right? It's slightly away. It's asymmetric also, you can see, right? So these are the perfect transmission. Or if you look from the potential barrier point of view, so pi means this kind of waveform, right? Half waveform. Then 3 pi means 2 pi, 3 pi, right? Right, 3 pi. So it's kind of resonance, right? Where the thickness of the barrier is multiple of lambda by 2, right? Integer multiple of lambda by 2, right? So you can write 2n plus 1 here. Correct? Okay. So that takes us to the concept of tunneling. So in tunneling, we got this for barrier, we got this expression, right? Now here in the previous example, we assumed that potential was uniform here. Potential was uniformly U naught here. Now in real life situation, potential may not be uniform. It may be some kind of variation, right? You might have seen this kind of barrier, especially for oxide, a triangular kind of barrier, right? So in this case, how will you calculate the transmission? The important part is basically e to the power minus 2kl. E to the power minus 2kl, right? So what we can do, we can divide this barrier into number of points, right? and for each small section you can calculate 2 kl, right? So for small section you can assume that energy is some value, energy is some value, energy is some value. So for that value of energy you can calculate k, and this L become dx here, right? And you integrate it, you will get 2 kl. So this is basically 2 times L is integral dx and k is root 2m u minus e by h bar square. U is a function of x. So this is also known as WKB approximation. So this is named after a scientist, Van Jel, Kramers, and Brillion. So these are encountered in MOSFET. So here you have metal. Here you have so let's say here you have metal, and this is oxide, and this is other way around. Not true. This is not for metal, because metal we don't expect current, right? So this can be for resonant tunneling diodes devices, right? So there's a well here, right? And this other side it has to go, right? So for certain resonant frequencies, right, there will be some transmission, right? And that transmission will depend on the potential profile as well as the thickness of the barrier. Okay. So far, any question? Because we have completed the tunneling. Now in remaining 20 minutes, I will discuss about the Schrodinger equation, how we can solve this Schrodinger equation numerically. Okay, somebody raised his hand. Alisa Parvez.
So this is not a question or request. From next time, could you please make all of us attendees? Somebody threw me out of the meeting 3-4 times.
Okay, how can I do that?
Sir, when you start, I think when you start the meeting, it gives you the option of having all the other people apart from you as attendees, so we can't like remove other people or mute other people.
Okay, I will do that, but I need to find out. So in middle, I cannot do it,
Sir, you can do that right now as well.
How?
From where you download the attendance.
From where I download the attendance. Attendance. How can I download attendance? Where I can download the attendance?
Top right, there will be 3 dots.
Participant, download the attendance list. Okay, here is this one. Okay, let me download the attendance list. First, downloading. Is it due to recording I cannot download the attendance list? I'm only seeing this thing. Earlier, I used to get one 3 dot in the middle, but this time I'm not getting those 3 dots. So anyway, let's continue our discussion. Next time I will do this one. In the beginning, I will do it. Okay. So how to solve for any arbitrary potential, right? So far we have seen a potential of regular shape, right? Such as step potential, potential barrier, right? Even triangular potential you can solve it. It's more complicated, but can be done. So there are approximate solutions and there are numerical solutions, right? Approximate solutions, you can look for graphical solution. You can look for a special function or harmonic oscillator or tilted well, hydrogen atom. So you can refer any modern physics book where this solution of Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom is described. We can also use perturbation theory, variation principle. So these are all analytical techniques. Numerical techniques can be based on finite difference or it can be based on finite element. So in this lecture, we will briefly discuss about finite difference. How can we solve Schrodinger equation using finite difference, right? So let's consider 1D case. So this is x-axis and this is your wave function, right? And what we do, the first thing we do, we discretize a space, right? So this is x1, x2, right? Similarly, n, the point xn plus 1 like that, right? So for at each x, we have the value of psi, and then we have to calculate. So first of all, we discretize the x-axis, and we know these vectors, right? These values x1, x2, because when we solve in computer, we don't get an analytical expression. We get the values at different axis points. So we have to calculate psi as a function of x, and this psi is, let's say, one particular mode. Okay. So now this is the variable to be calculated, right? We have to find psi, right? So that you can write for x1 is psi1, for x2 it is psi2, like this. So this we have to find out. Now u psi is basically what? At psi n minus 1, you have n un minus 1. So potential is a function of x. So x you know, and u as a function of x also we know. So this will be u at n, u at n plus 1, right? So u psi will be a product of potential multiplied by psi. So un minus 1, psi n minus 1, un psi n, u1 psi 1, like this, right? And this can be written as a diagonal matrix U times vector psi. So if you multiply, you will get u psi, right? So this is one term in your Schrodinger equation, right? U psi. So u psi is sigma un psi n, right? And which can be represented in the matrix form like this. Okay. What about second one? Second one is derivative, right? So this is del 2 psi by del x square, right? And del 2 psi by del x square can be written as it's double derivative. So let's say first single derivative. So single derivative is as derivative at n, you can write psi n plus 1 minus psi n by x n plus 1 minus xn, right? There are different ways to write it. They have different names, forward difference, backward difference, or central difference. So you can write psi n minus 1 also, right? Or you can write psi n plus 1 minus psi n minus 1 divided by x n plus 1 minus x n minus 1, right? Or you can take half point also. So psi n plus half minus psi n minus half divided by let's say this is uniform and is A, right? So X are uniformly spaced. So the previous slide. Amar, which slide you are asking? So in previous slide there was only one term, U psi, right? And this is so this is potential energy times psi, and here this term is first term, right? So del 2 psi by del x square. Behind this, this one. So you have any doubt? Amar, what is the doubt? No doubt. Okay. Okay. So the double derivative will be, let's say we call it psi prime, right? So double derivative is basically the psi prime. So psi prime at n plus 1 minus psi prime n divided by again this x n plus 1 minus x n, right? So that way you can get this also, or you can do in half term. So half or half will become 1, right? So this is at n, and this is at n. So if you take double derivative, then that means this will be a derivative at half. So d2, let me write here, d2 psi by dx square will become d psi by dx at n plus half minus d psi by dx at n minus half divided by a. Now d psi by dx at n plus half will be n plus 1 minus n minus half will be n minus 1, right? So you will get this expression, and then you multiply this thing by h bar square by 2m, right? So what you will get here, h bar square by 2m times psi n plus 1 plus psi n minus 1 minus 2 psi n by a square. So this prefactor h bar square by 2m divided by a square, we call it t. So for given psi, what you have, plus n minus 1 plus n plus 1 minus 2, right? So diagonal element will be 2t, and beside the diagonal will be minus t and minus t. So you can multiply any one of them. So for any psi n, you can write 2t psi n minus psi n minus 1 t minus psi n plus 1 times t. Okay, and then you can add these two terms. T psi plus u psi is equal to E psi. So what you can write, T plus U is a matrix, and so H psi is equal to E psi, right? So this H matrix, H psi is equal to E psi, right? So from this you can obtain, if you calculate the eigenvalues of H, you will get these energies E, and you will also get corresponding wave functions. So that you can do here. So now you can calculate. So we have got the H matrix, we can calculate eigenvalues. So there's a function called EIG in MATLAB. And then you can sort it, because you know those eigenvalues may not be in sequence, right? So we are looking for the lowest energies, because that we can visualize easily. And then you can corresponding index, you can get those. This is basically sort, right? So the eigenvalues we get in terms of there's a vector and d. So corresponding index, you can sort it, and you can replace those eigenvalue d by sorting with index, and you can keep all the rows same, interchange the column according to sorted index. So this basically will give you, let's say your eigen energies E1, E2, E3, they are sorted, and corresponding column will have their psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, so that we can plot it. Now there should be code here also. So this is the code. So again m, h bar, q. Now dx I assume 0.01, x is -525, and nx is the size. So nx is the number of grid points, right? So that basically first I space it in terms of dx, and then I calculate the number of grid points. Then I define u is 10 for all the metrics, and I defined this n by 3 to 2n by 3, right? So that means this is 1, this is n, this is n by 3, this is 2n by 3, right? So n by 2n by 3, I am assigned it as a 0, right? So this is potential u, this is 0, right? So first of all, I assigned whole potential 10, and then for this region n by 2 to 2n by 3, I assign is 0. So there are 3 cases here. I can use oscillator, I can use particle in a box, or I can use a tilted box. So these 3 functions are there, and percentage sign shows the comment. So comment means basically if I want to use oscillator, I will uncomment first one and comment these 2. If I want to use particle in a box, I will comment the first one, uncomment the second one. So that temp means this n by 3 to 2n by 3. So that becomes 0. And if I would use a tilted box, then I will use third one. So this is basically varying from 0 to 1 and maximum size of the temp, right? So this is basically varying from 0 to 1 like this. Okay. Now T is defined as h bar square by 2m a square, right? So a is dx here, h bar square by 2m a square, and there is this coefficient here that is to take care of different numbers that are appearing here. You see here h bar square by 2m a square, right? So h bar square by 2m a square. Now here this is x in nanometer. So this will be 10 to the power minus 9. So that has to be accounted 9, right? So because dx square is nanometer square means 10 to the power minus 18. So that has to be multiplied here 10 to the power 18. And u is potential. So it is basically electron volt. So we have to take care of q also. So q have I divided here. Instead of multiplying there, I divided it here so that I get numbers which are proper basically. Because if you deal with 10 raised to the power minus 19 for every number, it will be difficult to solve. So we have scaled basically the equation by q. So that doesn't change the equation, but we get decent numbers to deal with. Then you can make the matrix. So 2t times I is basically identity matrix, right? Or means all the diagonal elements are 1. So all the diagonal elements are multiplied by 2t. Then diagonal shifted by 1, 1, they are multiplied by t minus t, and shifted by -1. So it's basically this is your diagonal minus 1 and plus 1, right? So they are called subdiagonals. They are multiplied by. So this is a smart way to make the matrix. Then u is again diagonal element, where all the diagonal elements are the potentials u, right? Then your H matrix is T plus U. Then you get those eigenvalues. Then you can plot it, right? So that you can see the plot here. As an axis, you can strip from -5 to 5, so that you get only the wave function in this range, -5 to 5. Okay, so here is the waveform. So for a particle in a box, you can see this is psi1, this is psi2, this is psi3, right? So you can see here. So 1 peak, 2 peak, psi2 has 2 peak, psi3 has 3 peak, 1, 2, 3, psi4 has 1, 2, 3, 4 peak, and these are the spacing of energy. So they are plotted with their energy. You can see here. So how the psi is plotted. So plot x axis, and this is minus 10v plus 10 times d, right? So this is multiplied by 10 to have the visuals, right? To have the better visual. So that means they are spaced in terms of the energy, right? It's scaled by 10. So you can choose the scaling according to your case. So they are scaled by 10 basically. So you see now, because they are identically scaled, you see the spacing here is less compared to the spacing here, because this is narrow in the beginning, and as you go up it becomes broad, so spacing reduces, right? And this is for higher order, spacing increases, right? Because the slope is more, d2 psi by dx square. Here it is broad, so spacing becomes less. Here you see it is slightly narrow here, right? So spacing is more here, right? For tilted one. And then and on above it basically, now this synergy is not necessarily the outside the box. It is basically just scaled, right? It is scaled so that you can have better visual. Energies they are inside the box, and corresponding energy you can also see here 0.123, 0.369, 0.615. So this exactly fits with n plus half h bar omega. And here you have E1 0.031, E2 0.124, and they are basically n square. So 1 is this. Then if you multiply this thing by 4, so 4 3 is 12, so 124. Then you multiply by 9, so 9 3 is 27, right? So around 0.28 you get. So those things you can basically you can solve the Schrodinger equation for any arbitrary potential. So with this I will close the lecture. If you have any question you can ask me.